We are live now, doctor.
Yeah. Can I start? So,
Yes, doctor.
a very good evening to all of you, to all the MOS members, and also the LDP participants. This is a very special episode, very different, and it is said health is wealth, and we think we have it all till we don't. So, this is two very dynamic personalities, Dr. Rohit Modi and Dr. Sharang Vartikar, are going to take us through what is so special about diet. We all know exercise is important, but there are special, what is the nuances to it which they will share with us. And with this, I asked Dr. Anaga Herur, I invite her to address our LDP participants and the MOS members for this very unique webinar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Preeti, and a very good evening to all our viewers. So, today it's a very special session, as she said, and we need to take care of our body because that's the only place that we live in, right? So, as ophthalmologists, we take care of the vision of all our patients. But today, let's pause and think for ourselves how to take care of our own first, and then we can take care of the others too. So, probably it's not just for ophthalmologists, it's valid for all of us. And basically it's there's so much of confusion all around as to what to eat, how much to eat, what's the importance of proteins, are we eating less, are we eating more, what are the sources, at the same time also about exercise. So today all those myths are going to be busted, and definitely Dr. Sharang and Dr. Rohit, who are already such fitness freaks and into all this, are going to guide us through it. So let today be a reminder that all of us health should be our biggest wealth. So let's get into this webinar and enjoy it. Thank you.
Dr. Anamika will now introduce Dr. Sharang. Anamika?
Yeah. Good evening, all. Welcome again to all this exciting session on fitness. Dr. Sharang doesn't require any introduction. We have seen him performing and talking. The very latest his talk on vegan had inspired me also. But just for the formality, Dr. Sharang Vartikar is a senior vitreoretinal consultant at Bhaskar Eye Care in Thane, and also he consults at multiple places. He is a popular speaker, speaks about plant based nutrition, compassionate healthcare, and mindful living. And so let's get and start the journey. Over to Dr. Preeti, madam.
Yeah. And Dr. Rohit Modi, also from Mumbai, doesn't need introduction. Professionally, he's a retinal surgeon, but today he's as a person who's been on both sides of the fence, who have earlier been on diets which we don't think are very healthy or which we think are all right. There's nothing wrong in what we are doing. But then he's changed over, he's increased his fitness, and he's also done Ironmans. And it is possible, he showed that it's possible that you can change tracks and do it in a very nice way and still enjoy life. So, Dr. Rohit Modi, both you and Dr. Sharang are going to take us through this journey of how to remain fit and how to remain fit through our diet. So, over to you. Dr. Sharang, you are starting, I believe.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
Dr. Geetanjali Sharma madam has just joined.
Oh,
Okay.
Madam, just a few words from you. She's our also the main coordinator for LDP before Dr. Sharang starts. Yeah.
Good evening. Good evening. But I am at the airport, so there is a lot of noise. So best wishes, and we are going to learn today a lot. Luckily, I got the background, which is of yoga on the Delhi airport. So really fortunate to have this background. So nice joining this session, and I'm also looking forward to learn a lot from this session.
yeah. Thank you for joining, Dr. Gitanjali. I didn't think you would make it. Chalo, good, nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, Dr. Sharang,
Thank
if
you.
you can just.
Yeah, I'll share my presentation. Hope my screen is visible to all.
Yes,
Is
yes.
it seen?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, so a big thanks to Maharashtra Ophthalmological Society for organizing such wonderful events and modules for learning and giving us this opportunity to speak on, health and wellness, right? These are basically the talks that we are going to go through one by one. And we had actually done a small survey before the event, and some people failed, some didn't fail. Of course, it cannot be considered as a representative of MOS. It's a very small sample, but it was just interesting to go through it. The average age group was around 30 to 70, and majority we found are not actually reaching the minimum amount of exercise that is recommended. Okay. But in spite of nearly 40% reaching the level of exercise that is recommended, they were still majority were overweight and a lot of them were still obese. Okay, so this we have to understand that just exercising as per the recommended things may not be enough, or maybe what we think as exercise may not actually be exercise. Plus, the another important parameter that we see is the waist to height ratio, which majority had more than half. Ideally, the waist circumference has to be less than half the height, right? With that, let me give some disclaimers that this information provided here is not a replacement for any medical advice. This talk is about general health and not disease specific. So anybody suffering from certain specific diseases, this is not the forum where we can guide you specifically. All references are listed, can be cross-checked. Medical knowledge, we all know, is always evolving. We are only presenting and interpreting the data that is available currently, and we are always open to learn more, right? So let's get on with this, and I'll invite Dr. Rohit to start the first talk.
At the outset, I would like to thank Maharashtra Ophthalmic Society and the office bearers of MOS and Sharang for involving me in this wonderful webinar. Is my slide visible?
Yes, yes.
Just just give me a second. There is yeah. Is this slide visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my first talk for today is why lifestyle medicine matters. Now, when we talk about longevity, most of us think of living longer. But the real question is how well we will live during those extra years. And I want you all, whoever is participating in today's webinar, to just look back on our grandparents or great grandparents, how they have lived their last 10 years of life, or the people whom we are treating for age related illnesses, whether it is wet AMD or diabetic retinopathy or cataract or glaucoma, and we see them with multiple comorbidities and what quality of life they are living. So are we looking at just lifespan or health span? Now, when we look at diabetic retinopathy, 12 to 17% of the patients in India with diabetes are going to develop it. And nearly 1 in 6 of our patients have got diabetes or more, especially for retina specialists. The number of patients with glaucoma going blind is all-time high. And can we just treat these patients with medicines? And we are excellent at treating the end stage symptoms, whether it is macular edema or glaucoma or other illnesses which are because of the chronic illnesses. But if we can handle the root cause, we can reverse insulin resistance, reverse inflammation, we can not only give a better visual outcome, but also a better quality of life. Now, these are the 6 main pillars of lifestyle medicine. And lifestyle medicine is like an elephant in the room, which was never addressed during our medical schooling. Healthy eating, that is proper nutrition, importance of physical activity. These 2 topics are going to be dealt in details today. Restorative sleep, stress management, social connections, and avoiding risky substances. Now, why sleep is so important? And especially as doctors, we ignore sleep the most. Well, during sleep, there is enhanced interstitial fluid exchange, facilitating clearance of neurotoxic waste. Retina, being an extension of CNS, is similarly influenced by clearing mechanisms. Also, the cortisol decreases and melatonin increases during the sleep. It improves the insulin sensitivity. Chronic sleep deprivation can cause hypercortisolemia. And we also know that insomnia is a cause of a relatively common condition known as central serous retinopathy. The sleep basically influences the diurnal IOP variation. Supine posture and nocturnal fluid shifts increases the episcleral venous pressure, whereas nocturnal systemic hypotension reduces the optic nerve perfusion. So there are times when the progression of glaucoma happens in spite of well-controlled daytime IOP. It also, obstructive sleep apnea is associated with non-arthritic ischemic optic neuropathy, floppy eyelid syndrome, and it can also be related to, poor glycemic control, systemic inflammation, endothelial dysfunction, and they can be increased risk of dry eyes. So asking simple screening question is, are our patients taking adequate sleep? That is minimum 6 to 8 hours. Ideally would be 8 hours. Do they have snoring symptoms? And we can also encourage them for having adequate sleep and also refer them to the obstructive sleep apnea specialist for sleep studies. A simple questionnaire like stop bang. Do you snore loudly? Do you feel tired? Have you observed you stop breathing while sleeping? Or do you have high blood pressure? Now, I'll just give a simple example. When you're operating the patient and then suddenly the patient dozes off and starts snoring loudly when you're operating. Obviously, it is irritating and disturbing, but at the same time, we should look back to the patient's physique. If the patient has got obesity, high BMI, and is elderly, we should think of referring this patient to an obstructive sleep apnea specialist. Now, the second thing is stress after sleep. Chronic psychological stress is not just emotional, it's a neuroendocrine disorder with direct ocular implications. A simple thing, we know that the patients who are anxious and are stressed, they are more likely to have poor glycemic control, higher blood pressures, and these patients have got higher cortisol levels, resulting in activation of HPA axis and a sympathetic overdrive. This can result in endothelial dysfunction, microvascular dysregulation, and chronic low-grade inflammation. In fact, mindfulness meditations and also doing mind relaxation activities like gratitude therapy and all can help significantly reduce the sympathetic overdrive and also control stress and anxiety. Well, if we look at the ophthalmic effects, CSR is a very well known. In fact, we know that diabetic retinopathy and other vascular diseases can worsen the systemic control and helps also worsen the ocular condition. Vascular dysregulation can also cause optic nerve perfusion instability, glaucoma progression, and ocular surface diseases. In fact, stress is also related to a lot of autoimmune conditions. So micro practices in the clinic, especially for us, box breathing, every half an hour, 45 minutes will help you relax. Structured stress reduction, in between twice daily, if we can have a mindfulness or meditation, pre-surgery visualization, and between surgeries, it has helped me a lot to have pranamic breathing and lifestyle integration. Well, exercise is also a very good stress buster, but apart from exercise, meditation definitely helps, and insomnia can also exacerbate stress. Now, another important thing which we are currently looking at is the increase in the addiction rates. And somehow addictions have become more normalized. When we just look at the percentage of people having alcohol and at what age they were considered to have alcohol has increased, then smoking and vaping has become so important. And these addictions, along with ultra processed foods and a screen addiction, is also equally harmful. Now, these substance abuses cause oxidative stress, systemic inflammation, and microvascular injury. Now, smoking, as we know, has a very strong, it's a risk factor for diabetic retinopathy, age-related macular degeneration. It not also increases the risk of early cataract. It basically, in every chronic illness, there's a strong association with smoking. Nowadays, there are beautiful therapies available for smoking de-addiction with psychiatrists. What I do in my practice is I refer to a psychiatrist who takes around 4 to 5 months with nicotine patches and other drugs, nicotine chewing gums, to help the patient de-addict. Alcohol again has become a big issue. And a lot of times we normalize the intake of alcohol, but a lot of this alcohol intake, which is considered to be occasional, sometimes can turn into addictions. With respect to ophthalmic relevance, we are looking at poor glycemic control, more of vascular occlusion, and we see with chronic usage toxic optic neuropathy. It can cause sleep disruption, nutritional deficiency, and oxidative stress. Now, another real addiction pandemic which we are looking at is ultra processed food. Eating out and eating junk food has become such a big culture. Right from the school days to our conferences, we are actually encouraging everybody to eat junk food. Now, these junk foods cause dopamine overstimulation, addiction like eating behavior. Most of these ultra processed foods have got refined carbs, high sugars, and also they have got high amounts of saturated fat. Now, what happens is the high sugar basically saturates the receptors. There is increase in insulin surge, which causes deposition of the fat and which leads to increase in visceral fat. Also, it increases the risk of atherosclerosis and cancer. Ophthalmic impact, if we see, it accelerates diabetic retinopathy. Age-related macular degeneration has got a strong correlation with having processed food, promotes obesity, and obesity can lead to all sorts of systemic complications, which can in turn affect the eye. So are we just treating the eye, or as ophthalmologists, we have a duty to educate our patients to stay away from ultra-processed foods? And another thing which is still evolving our understanding is of the screen addiction. Dopamine driven behavior, those reels give cheap dopamine. And when just understand, when the morning we get up and if we start our day with seeing those reels, our energy gets drained out, our stimulus for doing exercise, workouts, eating healthy goes down, because the hard work earned dopamine requirement reduces if we are using cheap dopamine, which is available readily on the screen through the social media apps. And also it leads to digital eye strain. There's a dry eye issue which is coming up. It disrupts the sleep when watched late into the night, and it's really relevant for pan India and also mostly for the younger patients. Now, whether it is nicotine, alcohol, or ultra processed food or screens, we have to encourage our patients for de-addiction and also for better habit formation. And another important concept of lifestyle medicine is our social connections. Social connections help us relax, and this also has shown a very important part in reducing the inflammation parasympathetic tone improvement, improve vascular regulation. And we don't need to look at these molecular mechanisms. Patients who are ably supported by their family, who have a good support system, are more likely to respond to treatments. And we have all experienced that in our practice. So, chronic disease control also is better. Their follow-up compliance with medications and treatment is much better if supported by the families. For us also, to improve the overall well-being as doctors, ophthalmologists, we have to manage stress. We have to focus on other aspects of lifestyle medicines. And if we follow ourselves, we are confident in advising our patients the same. And the core idea, I'm really inspired by the work by Dr. Peter Attia. And he says, why exercise, eat healthy, why not enjoy life? A lot of times my patient says, कि तू करेगा क्या इतना जी कर? And my answer to them is that when I look at patients who are not fit at the age of 75, 80, and they're just leading a dependent life, I want to be independent at the age of 70, 80. I want to travel alone. I want to do stuff on my own, not depend on anybody else. So it's my independence and the quality of life. I'm looking at the last decade of life. And what we look at, what activities are going to be important in those years, the workout, the eating habit starts right now rather than later. And aging is equal to loss of function. It's not a number. So if you're fit at that age, you can lead a youthful, healthy life. It's about adding life to years and not years to life. Thank you.
That was really beautiful, Rohit. That was really nice. And it's like how you invest for your future. So this is an investment for your future health. You invest in mutual funds, you invest in shares so that you are independent financially when you become at an age where you're not earning. And it's the same thing as Dr. Rohit said. So I think next we have Dr. Sharang, who's going to now share his thoughts. They're going to be alternating with little lectures, and that way we will learn more about, and the last two lectures are particularly interesting. So stay tuned, please. Dr. Sharan.
Yeah. My screen is seen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my question is that have you ever wondered why humans have to be told what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat? Because everyone else in nature seems to be pretty sorted, right? I mean, they certainly don't need to, listen to such lectures to simply understand what we are supposed to put in our mouths. The problem is we are eating for convenience and pleasure and no longer for our survival. And that is why we are dying and suffering both from less as well as from excess. So I'm going to talk about some nutrition basics, trying to cut out the clutter which is there around us. Now, if you look at the global, life expectancy, you will see that it has nearly doubled since the 1900s. So the question is, why are we even worried about our health if that is the case? But as Rohit rightly pointed out, it's not just the lifespan; it is also the health span that matters. Adding years to life, or rather, adding life to years rather than adding just years to life. And if you look at the leading global causes of death, the non-communicable diseases are at the top now. They have infectious now, we have more or less got under control. And cardiovascular disease is the topmost killer, whether it's the global scenario or the Indian scenario. But if you look at the risk factors that are there for promotion of these diseases, okay, it is not, what are the leading causes? It is not cholesterol. It is not sugars, it is not BMI, not blood pressure, not even tobacco. The number one risk factor is a poor diet. And within the diet, okay, what is the biggest problem? The biggest problems, top 7 out of the top 9 are because lack of adequate plant foods. Excess meat and red meat comes way below. But what is basically problematic is that we are not consuming enough of plant foods, which is why shifting from animal-based foods to plant-based foods has been found to be beneficially associated with cardiometabolic health and all-cause mortality. If you look at the dietary recommendations, the top 3 heart healthy dietary patterns that are recognized world over, One is the Mediterranean diet, which allows fatty fish to be consumed for the omega-3 benefits. Then there is the DASH diet, the dietary approaches to stop hypertension, which says no salt, which we all know, but it allows animal foods to be consumed. And then there is the whole foods plant-based diet, which says no processed foods, no animal foods. So now this seems to be a lot of clutter, right? Because they don't seem to agree with each other. But let us focus on what everybody agrees upon. What is there at the center? It is that we have to increase our intake of whole grains, fruits, vegetables, legumes, and nuts and seeds. There are no two opinions on this. If you look at the Mediterranean diet and dissect it a little bit, this food pyramid seems to show like, okay, you can pretty much have anything you like, but you have to read the fine print. How often and in what quantity are they telling you to eat this? The pyramid will look something different, because whole plants have to be predominantly eaten daily basis. Seafood, maybe twice or at the most thrice a day. Even less than that, dairy, eggs, and chicken. Less than that, red meats, and probably avoid all processed meats and ultra processed foods. So, this is the pyramid which is actually showing the true picture. Now, this is nothing but what we call a predominantly plant based diet. Even the DASH diet, see what the authors have themselves said, that the design goals were one, to create patterns that would have blood pressure lowering effects of a vegetarian diet, yet contain enough animal products to make them palatable to non-vegetarians. So what are they saying? That evidence clearly says that plants are better for you, but we must allow some animal foods for your taste buds, because they believe that if we say, okay, don't have animal foods, people will not listen to them. So they said, okay, you can have some animal foods. But we are talking, it's a matter of life or death. This is the number one killer of all diseases in the world. I mean, when you're giving out guidelines, nobody's going to read this fine print. So we have to be very careful about this. They finally go to say that DASH diet is a plant-based diet rich in carbohydrates and low in fat. Some of you may be going like this right now, right? Because carbs are considered to be the enemy these days. Well, all carbs are not the same. There are refined carbs and then there are complex whole carbs. It's the refined carbs that are the enemy. The complex carbs are actually our body's true fuel. And this is how a whole grain differs from a refined grain. And what Indian diets are doing, we are grains heavy, but whole grain poor. We must focus more on unpolished rice, millets, and whole wheat. Studies have shown that the ideal complex carb intake has to be around 40 to 70% of your daily calories. And when we reduce the carbs that we are taking, what you replace them with also matters. Okay, which protein and which fat is replacing them? Replacing them with animal derived protein and fat actually increases mortality, while plant derived proteins and fats help in reducing the mortality. And we have to look at whole protein sources, not the processed one, whole fat sources, not the processed ones. So refined carbs, refined oils, and ultra processed foods, you have to say a big no as far as possible. Because what is processing? When you do thermal processing, this potato, see how it changes its complete nature when you go towards these chips with added salt, oil, and sugar. Look at what happens to the fruit when you convert it into the fruit juice, right? Chemical process is a complete different ball game, and we don't know what all things are added to it. Physiochemical processing, Dr. Rohit is going to speak about this in more details later. But any processed food basically increases your refined carbs, trans fatty acids, high temperature cooking products, and excessive sodium. And many of these are just chemicals, they are not even food. They play mind games, they're designed for playing mind games so that no one can just eat one. That's the fact. And we talk of a lot of nutrient deficiencies going around, right? We are also always worried about these vitamins and minerals, but the number one nutrient deficiency across the globe is fiber. Okay, that is the biggest challenge. And why is fiber important? It is a prebiotic. It is the food for the multiple billions of gut microbiome that are within us. And when they don't get their food, what they do? They start eating our gut mucosa. So it is a protector for the gut mucosa, preventing leaky gut, and leaky gut is known to cause multiple problems in our body. Fiber also blunts the sugar spike and provides satiety, and it is actually a natural Ozempic for our body. How? Because it gets converted into short chain fatty acids, which are actually stimulants for the release of GLP-1. which what everybody is now started taking externally. So rather than asking how much carbs, how much protein, the question is how much fiber are we taking these days? Because carbs without fiber are bad and protein without fiber is also bad. And all calories are not the same. Both sides you have 300 calories, but the nutrient efficiency of these two is completely different. You know what is healthier and which is not. Many people say I eat little, but I still don't lose weight. But they're little, maybe this, right? Two vada pavs or both of these are roughly 600 calories with hardly any nutrition in it. The same on a whole food plant-based diet looks like this. Lot more nutrition, lot more proteins, same amount of calories, and you will just get full by eating all this. This is how 500 calories look like of oil, of cheese, of meat, potatoes, beans, rice, and fruits and veggies. Some of you may be going this now. Did I say fruits? Because everyone is worried about the glycemic index of fruits, right? The glycemic index is how fast a carb can turn it into a sugar. But what is more important is the glycemic load. It's how much sugar is there per serving. Fruits are full of water and fiber. And that is why the glycemic load, even though the glycemic index may be high, the glycemic loads of the fruits are on the lower side. What we have to be worried about are these digestive biscuits and white bread and white rice. That is where the problem comes. In fact, fresh food consumption on mortality, 27% overall lower cause of mortality with a clear dose response relationship. They looked at diabetic vascular complications also. There was a lower risk of developing diabetes and also lower risk of developing vascular complications, including diabetic retinopathy. Also, what is the renal acid load of these foods? All whole plant foods are alkaline in nature. When you start processing them, they start getting little neutral, but all animal foods are on the acidic spectrum. So finally, what should we be eating? Multiple studies have shown that for all the metabolic diseases, risk reduction occurs with a whole food plant-based diet, while what increases the risk are excess saturated fats, red and processed meats, ultra-processed foods, and sugar-sweetened beverages. 50% of our plate should be made up of fruits and veggies and salad. 25% should come from seeds, legume, and nuts. This is the protein component. And 25% whole grains. Add lots of herbs and spices to the list. Water should be your main drink, and you can use supplementations as required for your body. A simple whole food plant-based diet. In fact, the dietary guidelines also suggest the same ICMR guidelines 2024. Small amount is given for animal foods to keep it palatable. Canada has removed dairy also from their recommendation. They said that is also not needed. USDA till recently had this plate. Now they have completely changed it in the new guidelines. They have this inverted pyramid with a lot of emphasis given for animal products. And the story behind that is quite interesting. The original Dietary Advisory Committee, made up of 20 scientists with the previous US administration, volunteered 1,000 hours of each twice a week for 2 years and presented a 420-page report, which was simply dismissed when the new administration came in. They formed a new 9-member committee. And the reason they gave was that the earlier committee tried to ensure that everyone, regardless of their background, income, or geography, has a fair opportunity to be healthy as possible. This was a problem for them. So the new committee had 7 members out of 9 directly taking money from livestock industry, dairy, cattlemen's, beef industry, pork board. So this is actually not science. This is completely political. And there have been litigations against this as well. What about dairy? Well, milk is an infant food. The moment you wrap this thing around your mind, it seems so ludicrous that we are actually adults consuming infant food of some other species. Just doesn't make sense. And it's no surprise that many of us are lactose intolerant. It's simply not an adult food. But we still take it for calcium, right? Bone health equals calcium is what we have been told, but that's not the truth. It's not calcium alone. It depends on your vitamin D intake, exercise, vitamin K, and including fruits and veggies. And what actually reduces your bone health is excess proteins, especially from animal proteins and dairy itself. And the risks of cancer with dairy are now increasingly being recognized. And the less talked about the contaminants in that is better. So overall, if you see the mortality risk, dairy is better than eggs and processed meat, is as bad as meat, fish, and poultry, but certainly replacing dairy with plants reduces mortality. Many people ask what is the best time to eat, and there are a lot of advices going around. I would say cut the clutter, just go back to simple common sense, follow the natural circadian rhythm that is the best for you. After sunset, it is time for our body to wind down and go off to sleep. We are in a state of chronic overeating. 80% full is what we should be eating. Japanese call it hara hachibu. आपण आधीपासूनच म्हणतो 2 घास कमी खावे. And don't keep that junk food handy where you will be get tempted. Eat only when you are hungry, not because you are supposed to be eating. So to conclude, increase your intake of whole foods, increase your intake of plant foods, what is known as a predominantly whole food plant-based diet. Aim to get 90% of your food right. That is vegetables, including green leafy ones, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts and seeds, supplements where necessary, ultra-processed foods, completely processed foods, you can try and avoid or keep it less to 10% so that 90% is safe. Animal foods also you can avoid or keep it under that 10%. We have 21 meals in a week. You break them each plate, fruits, veggies, proteins, and whole grains. If you have the other 3 right, you have a leeway of 4-5 occasions where you can include either processed or animal foods. Currently, we are doing something like this, and that is the problem. We are what we eat. Carnivores have dichromatic vision because they prioritized motion detection and depth perception over color. Primates, on the other hand, the humans, apes, and monkeys have trichromatic vision because we prioritize survival, color for our survival, to be able to identify that red apple within that foliage of green. That is what we are. We are evolutionally designed to eat the rainbow. In Michael Pollan's simple words, eat real food, not too much, mostly plants. Thank you.
Amazing, Sharang. Too good. Very, very nice, very informative. I think,
Thank you.
yeah,
Rohit can take
very
over
well
now.
said. Yeah. I think we'll have questions at the end of
At the end of we'll
session,
keep it
so
at the
that
end. Yeah,
there may be things that will be covered. Yeah.
sure.
Great. Yes, Rohit.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, I got inspired for, making a talk on reading the labels, though it's common sense that we should read labels, by listening to a guy who runs a YouTube channel known as Food Farmer. And I would really recommend everyone watching this webinar to go and watch his YouTube videos. So, from my childhood, we have been seeing these Parle Ji ads, Swad Bhare, Shakti Bhare, Parle Ji, and milk biscuits. Milk is supposed to be healthy. So Sharang has spoken about that in detail, why dairy is harmful. But let me come to this interesting part. Out of 100 grams of this, added sugars is 25 to 26 grams. And above that, maida, which is actually kind of sugar. That's what it's a it's a processed food. What Sharang has shown in his presentation, 67%. So if you look at a single biscuit of Parle Ji, probably 60 to 70% is sugar in some form. Now, if you visualize Parle Ji that way, are you ever going to have a single biscuit of Parle Ji? We do not, most of us wouldn't like to consume that much amount of sugar. Now, another thing which I had a presumption when, in fact, I was doing even my post-graduation was in the hostel days that Good Day is a better quality biscuit than Parle Ji. So I used to actually end up buying Good Day biscuit. And there it's pretty similar. 22 grams is added sugar and around 50 grams or 60 grams is maida. Plus there is palm oil and also there is iodized salt. So as Sharang said, processed food will have SOS, sugar, oil, salt. Any of these 3 things which are there in any packet food, it should raise an alarm in your mind before consuming it. Now, we look at these wonderfully labeled biscuits, whole wheat, and our presumption is that there wouldn't be any maida or minimal amount of, maida, refined wheat flour. And you can see 52%, more than 50% is actually maida. Wheat flour is less than 20%. And again, added sugar is 22 grams. So in fact, 60 to 70% of the biscuit, again, apart from it having, palm oil, has 70% sugar. Again, with whole wheat flour bread, they have got maida in that. And this is the guy who has inspired me for this talk. So even these multi-grain breads, whole wheat bread, most of them have got significant amount of maida. Now look at this mixed fruit jam. We have been having jam since our childhood. We would apply it over the roti or have it over the bread. We have seen how harmful the bread is. Now, they are very smart. In the nutritional information, they're not writing per 100 grams, they're writing 20 grams, and out of which 14 grams is added sugar. So you can just imagine that 70% of this jar is just sugar. And what are we feeding ourselves and our kids with? Again, Nutella. Nutella comes with such amazing advertisements. And, quite a few years ago, it was not available in India. I don't remember during my childhood. My friends used to bring from abroad when they used to visit some Western countries. And if you look at in our country, this is the quantity of palm oil. You have skimmed milk. You have got so much amount of sugar in it, which is more than 50%. Lay's recently shifted from palm oil to sunflower oil, but it has got a huge amount of sodium in it. And also, it is still using refined oil, which is harmful. There is even maida in soup. Now, we all know that carbonated drinks are basically flavored sugar water. And we know the amount of sugar in each of the cold drinks. Hence, we thought of shifting to Diet Cokes or, zero sugar sodas. But do you know that these contain artificial sweeteners which can trick your taste buds, attack your teeth? The phosphoric acid attacks the enamel in your teeth. It can switch on to the fat storage mode as it can trigger insulin secretion. It can be addictive, and it's a deadly combination of caffeine and aspartate. It also can deplete nutrients, make you hungry and thirsty for more. What it basically does is sucralose causes microbiotic dysbiosis. A huge amount of autoimmune diseases have direct connection to microbiotic dysbiosis in our intestines. In fact, pills or transplant has become fecal microbiota transplant has become a standard modality of treatment for certain conditions. It also causes hyperinsulinemia and increases the calorie intake. This diet soda is increasing the risk of ischemic stroke, all-cause dementia, and Alzheimer's dementia. So be very careful when you're drinking that zero sugar sodas. So in simple terms, packet futega, pet fatega, consuming high levels of ultra-processed food during childhood can put the children at increased risk. And I believe monkey see, monkey do. If we do not stop, we are not setting a good example in front of our patients and our kids.
Thanks, Rohit. That was wonderful. I'll just move on for saving time. We'll just go on to the next topic.
Too good. Opening our eyes to all this, right? I think this session is going to be a big eye opener for all of us.
Yeah, my screen is seen. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, I've been on 7 years of a plant-based diet, and in spite of the benefits I've experienced, still when people meet me, they ask me, where do you get your proteins from? Right? Thankfully, there are other plant-based animals who are never asked this question, surprisingly. So what is this protein thing that seems to be affecting only humans? I'll just try and simplify it today. So how much protein do we need? So meta-analysis of nitrogen balance studies have been done, which have given the average requirement to around 0.66, and two standard deviation above that is the RDA, which is around 0.8 grams per kg per day, which will cover most of the population, right? But this is decided by the body weight of a person, okay? The grams per kg per day. So not affected by age, gender, or even physical activity. And not just your actual body weight, it is affected by the ideal body weight of a person. Because if you're carrying excess fat around, doesn't mean you need excess protein for that. So based on your height, there is a certain ideal weight that you should be having. Even if you're 20 kgs over that, it doesn't matter. Your protein requirements will depend on your lean body mass, not the excess fat. So for somebody who is say 5'8", weighing ideally should be weighing 65 kgs. So roughly 65 grams of proteins per day should be sufficient. Okay. But isn't taking more protein better? What's the harm in taking more? Well, proteins are not stored in our body. Okay. Anything that is excess will be excreted in the urine or stored as fat, which we certainly don't want, which is why systematic reviews and meta-analysis of 74 RCTs comparing high and low protein intake found non-significant effects with no significant dose response with higher protein intake. And they cautioned that they need to be weighed against the potential for harms because overconsumption of proteins can lead to health problems. This is a Cochrane Library Review study, which has shown that excess protein intake at the time of pregnancy increases the risk of small for gestational age babies. Small babies, infants who are given excess proteins actually end up with higher BMI and body fat percent in childhood. And adults who consume excess protein have increased mortality, risk of diabetes, cancer, and heart disease, especially if it is animal protein. And they have identified that increased risk is maximum with protein intakes above 20 to 23% of your energy, which roughly equates to 1.6 grams per kg per day. So the protein intake compared to the risk of mortality curve is like this. Initially, it starts going down. That is, the mortality reduces till you reach 1 gram per kg per day. Beyond 1.6 grams per kg per day, the risk actually starts increasing. Sweet point is somewhere around 1.1 gram per kg per day. So we know the bare minimum, we know the safe maximum. So an optimum intake would be anywhere between 1 to 1.2 grams per kg per day. So moderation is the key. But aren't Indians protein deficient? Because we keep hearing that all the time. But if you look at reputed institutes who have done this survey across India, NIN Institute of Hyderabad, since 1975, they have mapped multiple studies. And what have they found? The average Indian consumes around 1 to 1.3 gram per kg per day. And this is the very recent report they have released, June 2025. Average intake is 68 grams per day, which is actually what we sufficiently need. The primary bottleneck they identified is energy inadequacy and not the protein. And consumption of pulses and legumes, which are protein sources, are actually less than 50% of what is recommended. So the key takeaway on proteins I'm going to give you first is your calories should be adequate. Those who are not getting enough nutrition will also not get enough proteins. So there is scope for improvement, but it's not as bad as it is made out to be. But can we get all this protein from plants? Because people are worried that only animal foods can give you proteins. So for this, we need to understand this small protein energy ratio concept. It is the percentage of your total calories which are coming from proteins. So let's assume a 35-year-old Indian male who's sedentary, 5 feet 8 inches. So the ideal body weight for that person should be 65 grams. So protein needed would be 65 grams. Now, 1 gram protein we know gives 4 calories. So 65 grams, if he consumes from proteins, he should get 260 calories from the proteins. But the recommended diet for such a person is around 2200 calories, which means 260 calories of 2200 coming from proteins gives a PER of 12%. I hope everybody is with me on this. What it simply means that any diet of 2200 calories, so enough calories if the person takes, which have a PER of more than 12% will provide the necessary proteins. We don't have to complicate things much. We just have to look at foods which have PER of more than 12%. It is as simple as that. In fact, based on PER, a food is called a source of protein if PER is more than 12 and a high protein source if PER is more than 20%. Fruits cannot be considered as protein sources because their PER is less than 10, but they have protein. It's not that they don't have protein. Grains are sources of proteins. Nuts and seeds are sources of proteins. Vegetables are high protein sources, anything between 20 to 50%. Legumes are high protein sources, anything between 20 to 50%. Then why are we having this protein craze? The reason is this is what we are eating today, right? That is the problem. This has no proteins and improper proportions. We are having more refined cereals and less legumes and veggies. See the plate, typical plate that people eat. This has to change to something like this. The cereal portions have to go down and we have to shift from refined to whole cereals. So the right ratio of legumes to cereals and original whole foods have to be taken. Next question is, okay, we are getting from plants, but isn't meat a better source of protein? Absolutely, it is. You can get 2 times as much protein from meat. That's true. But more isn't always better. Sometimes it's just more. And it is the quality that matters more than quantity. So if you compare animal proteins versus plant proteins, and if you look at the evidence for metabolic diseases, what does it say? And with short of time, so we will just give, I'm just putting here a very few studies, but there's a whole lot of database out there. Total proteins and animal proteins increase risk of diabetes. Plant proteins reduce the risk of diabetes. What about mortality? Animal proteins increase the risk of cardiovascular mortality. Plant proteins reduce the risk of cardiovascular and all-cause mortality. Animal proteins increase the risk of hypertension in elders. Plant proteins reduce the risk of hypertension. Animal proteins increase the risk of CKD. High animal to plant protein ratio. So higher your animal protein and lower your plant protein leads to bone loss and fractures. But that's not all. When we are eating food, right? We are not just picking out the proteins from any food source and eating. So we have to look at the complete package. So with that extra protein from animal foods, what else extra you will get? You'll get saturated fats, cholesterol, hormones, antibiotics, and contaminants. You will get a lot of toxic and inflammatory products, which are carcinogenic, mutagenic, cardiotoxic, neurotoxic, nephrotoxic. Plus, you will increase your risk of systemic diseases and you will have a deranged gut microbiome. The gut microbiome's importance in our whole system is just being recognized. We have just uncovered the tip of the iceberg. Every day we are learning new functions of that. And what do you get extra with plant foods? Fiber. And all these benefits of eating fiber, which is the food for these microbiota, is completely missing in animal foods. Plus, you get a lot of polyphenols and micronutrients and complex carbs, okay, and an optimized gut microbiome with none of these added risks. We just have to see which option looks better. So try and get all your proteins from plants as much as possible. What about athletes and elderly? Don't they need extra protein? Well, there are many athletes who believe in the power of plant-based proteins. They have been winning gold medals at Olympics, and this is nothing new. They've been doing it since the 1900s. We are just not aware of it. Plant foods are known to increase blood flow to muscles, improve muscle efficiency, reduce inflammation. Recovery is the biggest advantage of an athlete. That is what they look for. What about the elderly? Well, muscle is a use it or lose it kind of a tissue. If you don't use it, you will lose it. And elderly lose muscle faster. Okay, which is why their people tell them, okay, as you grow old, your proteins have to be increased. Now, this was a Protage study group with a lot of geriatric associations coming together. They used a different method of calculating protein requirements, the indicator amino acid oxidation method. Even with all this, they concluded that the elderly need around 1 to 1.2 gram per kg per day. So it's not something extravagant that they need to consume. But what about supplementing more protein? Protein supplementation as a standalone intervention for healthy older individuals is ineffective completely. It is the resistance training that is effective. Resistance training induced improvements not enhanced by increasing protein foods or supplements. Well, there are studies which show that protein supplementation improves lean body mass. But what type of lean body mass? It is the truncal lean body mass which is increased. Now, what is that? What is truncal lean body mass? It includes the weight of the liver, kidneys, connective tissue, and water content also. When you consume more proteins, water is also retained more. So that is not the right way to look at lean body mass. If you want to look at muscle strength, you have to look at the appendicular lean mass. That is or your limbs. That is where there is no confounding factor involved. And what have they found? When they did a thigh muscle cross-sectional area, did not change whether you took the recommended allowance or double that. Whey protein supplementation, 30 grams per day extra, did not improve muscle mass or physical function. Again, meta-analysis of RCTs have shown positive effect of resistance training, no role of protein or essential amino acid supplements. Dr. Mayur Morekar, who's a fitness freak, requested me to put in a word on creatine. Right? What is creatine? It's the number one supplement which people are taking now. Why? Because first of all, body makes its own creatine. Okay. If you supplement, body has to make less. That's just about it. Less muscle creatine is not shown to be equivalent to less performance. Okay. Then why do people take it? The advantage is extra creatine in muscle delays fatigue. So it allows athletes to train extra. So instead of 5 repetitions, if you take creatine, you will be able to do 6 repetitions. Okay. Without exercise, it is meaningless. It is only for those who are exercising and who are looking at gaining absolute, precision. When we are talking of athletes, those 0.1 and 1% improvement also makes a huge difference. But it is also promoted to prevent sarcopenia, even though creatine levels are similar in biopsies of old and young muscle. A multifactorial double-blind randomized placebo-controlled trial compared leucine, whey, soy, creatine plus whey in women and women. This was as best as it can get. And what did they find? Whey, soy, leucine, creatine, nothing enhanced the resistance training induced benefits. So the training gave benefits. All supplements didn't do any further magic on it, whether it is in women or in men. So who should take creatine? Athletes who want to delay fatigue, elderly who are progressively strength training, who are looking at achieving higher and higher goals. They can benefit around 3 grams per day, right? Of over 30 years of research on protein supplementation has shown that only resistance exercise gives benefit in elderly people. Bottom line, muscles are built in the gym. If you don't exercise, no amount of kitchen food is going to help you. This is what I eat in the entire day. Of course, there are variations over the different days. No protein supplements, no dairy, no meat, no eggs, no fish. I don't even regularly go to the gym. Not that there's anything wrong in going there, but 30 minutes of home exercise. This is what I eat. Roughly, I get 1.23 grams per kg per day. My fiber intake is more than adequate and less than 2.6% of saturated fat. Many people think that a vegan or a plant-based meal is more expensive. My per meal cost is around 70 rupees. This was also shared by Mayur Morekar. This is a book written in 1930s from West Bengal bodybuilders. And what do they say about food? Simple food is best. Eat to live and not live to eat. Keep your stomach 1/4 empty and at least 7 hours of sleep are necessary. Nothing has changed in the past century. Do you think they cared about protein or creatine supplements? I don't think so. Strength training is what finally matters. So this is the takeaway. Crops, calories should be adequate in the right ratio, original foods, plant protein sources, and strength training. Although it is the last, it is the most important part of the entire thing. So to summarize, yes, muscles are of course important, proteins are also important, but other things also matter. It is your metabolic health and longevity. Exercise way more important than any supplement that you can think of. Instead of asking where do you get your protein, the right question is where do you get your fiber from? And if there's one single message you want to take away from all this, how much ever protein one decides to take, plant proteins are way better for us than animal proteins, whether it is for our body, for our planet, for the future of our children, or for the animals. Thank you so much.
That was
So good.
in depth, really. Amazing. So, Anamika, you're muted. Muted.
Anamika, please unmute.
You're muted.
I wanted to say that Dr. Sharang is inspiring, and by the end of it, definitely I'm totally going to get converted to plant-based protein. Very inspiring. So now
Thank you so much.
Very
let's
nice.
go
Very
ahead with the next talk. Dr. Rohit Modi. Hearing crops was very inspiring. And creatine by Dr. Mayur Morekar was also something different.
Yes,
Lots
indeed.
of
He
queries
shared that.
to both of you at the end of the session.
Sure, sure.
Dr. Rohit Modi, you are ready?
Yeah. Is my slide visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So, whenever I have listened to Sharang over a period of last 4, 5 years, it has always inspired me to stay on whole food plant-based diet. And Dr. Kumta, Dr. Sharang, and Dr. Anuradha were quite instrumental for me to stay on this course of whole food plant-based diet. Yeah. Now, this was a topic which was also given to me by Sharang, why exercise matters. And, as a retina specialist, I inject anti-VEGF every single day to multiple patients. And, I realized we are just treating the end organ effects of a chronic illness, which is basically a lifestyle disease rather than any other disease. So, well, exercise can be used as medicine and it can be a therapeutic intervention. It targets the root cause of conditions like diabetic retinopathy rather than just treating the symptoms. Metabolic effects of exercise. First, any muscle contraction, especially which is anti-gravity exercise, simple exercises like climbing upstairs for 3 or 4 floors can help in glute 4 translocation. Now, this is insulin independent. What does that mean? Cells start taking the glucose in without the help of insulin, and lot of data is there to show that anti-gravity workout like nitric oxide dump and your just climbing upstairs and down or going uphill actually helps reduce the sugar spike post meal if done 1.5 hours post meal, and it also then reduces the glycation end products and the further complications related to the uh, uh, raised blood sugars. It also reduces the visceral fat, which is actually a metabolic active part of the body, which because it releases TNF alpha, IL-6, which causes inflammation. So exercise preferentially reduces visceral adiposity and hence reduces inflammation. It enhances mitochondrial activity. As we know, retina is a very metabolically active tissue. So it requires mitochondria to be active and it hence improves the oxidative phosphorylation. It is protective against AMD progression and neurodegeneration. So if when we see a patient of AMD, we are not just looking at the eye, we are also looking at degeneration which is happening systemically throughout the body. So a lifestyle intervention will not only help the patient with the sight, but also help him systemically. It improves the endothelial function. In fact, nitric oxide dump, which is an anti-gravity exercise, consists of 4 movements, increases the nitric oxide secretion by the muscles, which causes vasodilatation, which will improve the microcirculation in the retina, but also will improve the the blood pressure, reduction of blood pressure. It will also help in reduction of the blood sugar levels. Now, another important concept is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So, it's not just working out on the gym for an hour is enough. We need to be active throughout the day. So, in between, like every 2 hours of rotational exercises, simple stretching, between OPD and OT will also help stimulate metabolism. And sedentary time is an independent risk factor. So hence, simple exercises like choosing, if you are staying on the third or the fourth floor, then choosing stairs instead of an elevator. Even if you are staying in a high-rise building, we can choose to climb a few stairs, like walking to the grocery store, helping in the household chores can help. Certain common myths. I am not overweight, so I do not need exercise. Even if you have an ideal body composition, you need to work out. It's not just eating right will help you. Workout is also equally important. And many of the Indians are lean, obese Indians. So, we'll see patients who are very lean, but they will have a visceral fat, the tummy will be coming out, and their body fat percentage is going to be very high. So they are metabolically obese. Only intense gym workouts work well. Sharang has narrated a beautiful example of himself. He works out mostly at home and only for 30 minutes. I believe we all can take out that 20 to 30 minutes. A simple, 5 Surya Namaskars in the morning if we have short on time, or a 10-15 minutes of nitric oxide dump. The video can be seen on YouTube of that exercise, can help. Simple workouts can have a huge effect if done over a period of time. Exercise is risky in eye disease. Well, most of the conditions will benefit from controlled supervised activity. Here, I'll just share a patient's example. A patient had come to me and he was not working out at all because he had 2 episodes of vitreous hemorrhage due to proliferative diabetic retinopathy. Yes, a patient who has got a recent vitreous hemorrhage, we will ask him to curtail strenuous workout. But over a period of time, simple exercises is recommended. In fact, over the top, he was recommended by someone to take laxatives so that he doesn't strain when he's defecating. That's even more risky because it's going to spoil his gut. And neat plus short bouts of exercise is effective in maintaining our overall health. Safety first, exercise smart. Diabetic patients need to be made aware of hypoglycemia. There could be foot injuries, which can lead to ulcers. You have to monitor sugars, and there has to be a gradual progression. In fact, for us also who are starting new with exercise. For glaucoma patients, we know certain types of exercises or yoga positions are not recommended, but overall aerobic exercises will help in better blood flow and reduction in IOP. For myopia patients, or traditionally we say that patients who have got pathological myopia or who have got multiple lattices or other eye detachment, we tend to avoid them. Heavy strenuous exercises, a low impact aerobic exercises and other forms of exercises is recommended. Cardiovascular screening, especially in elderly patients, is very important, and patients with sedentary individuals. In fact, my coach also, when I do ultra marathons or marathons or triathlons, he recommends that I should get a once in 2 years a 2D echo done and ECG so that the risk is less. And we as medical professionals often lead a sedentary lifestyle, and long hours spent sitting can be harmful for our health. And hence, we need to have certain movements between our OPD, our OT. Simple workouts can help. And a prescription for movement in today's day and age, we can recommend patients to, I typically tell a patient that at least twice a week, call a trainer, understand what kind of exercise is safe for you. Once 4 to 8 weeks have passed, you are comfortable, confident, then you can do it independently without a trainer also. Emphasizing the importance of exercise as a protective therapy can really help in our patients who have got vascular occlusion or diabetic retinopathy or AMD to help prevent the other eye involvement or the disease progression. Move more, sit less, preserve vision. So we know that exercise improves metabolism, microcirculation, and mitochondrial health. We are not just treating eyes, we are treating systemic disease through the eye. Thank you.
Wow, that's collectively, this was a wonderful session. Sharon, you have a talk or?
Yeah, one last talk
Yes,
now.
one. Please go.
So now that we have, Rohit has given us the background, the science behind exercise, I would like to take it to the more practical aspects of what we are supposed to do. Like, so suppose we ask somebody, what is exercise? Okay. Most people think of it as gym. Gym means exercise. The other spectrum is like, oh, walking is exercise. I go for a walk regularly. But many times what happens is the purpose of walking is what happens after the walk, something like this. So the whole purpose is kind of defeated. So I'm going to talk to you about how even without a gym, you can be slim and trim. So, what is fitness? If you look at these three people, okay, first of all, is any of this your goal? You see the diversity they are. Look at the flexibility, look at the endurance, look at the muscles. Okay, if any of this is your goal, then this talk is clearly not for you. Okay, what I'm going to talk about is very simple things, and इतने पैसे में दोस्त इतना ही मिलेगा आपको, इससे ज्यादा नहीं मिलने वाला, right? Now, when you think of designing a workout, one is I can give you, okay, Monday ko ye karo, Tuesday this, I can write it down for you, but I promise you it will not work. Okay, because we, first of all, we are not professional athletes. Let us understand that, nor will we get paid by anybody to look like this. This is not our profession. So unless you are willing to operate holding a dumbbell in your hand, you can have, and I can only give you ways to empower yourself so you can be your own coach. Because what what I can do will not necessarily work for you. So you have to understand what is the science behind the exercises, and then you have to formulate your own workouts. And for that, the principles are known by this mnemonic FITT-VP. Now, what is that? F stands for frequency, how often you exercise. I is intensity, how hard you work. Time is how long you work. Type is what kind of exercise you do. Volume is the amount of work, and progression. So let us look at frequency. So for a beginner, you can start by working out 3 times a day. Okay, that should be sufficient. That much time you can take out. Eventually, you can work up to 4 to 5 days a week. And then subsequently, you can go up to 6 days a week. Remember, rest days are absolutely essential for muscle repair and growth. Only the higher elite athletes who have that right kind of coach backing and training and all may resort to daily frequency of exercise. But for most of us, we need to have that rest day. The next comes is intensity. Now, what is intensity? How do you grade it? There is a scale, RP scale, different kind of RP, not what we are used to. It is the rate of perceived exertion. This looks a little bit complicated. Let me simplify it. As a beginner, whenever you do an exercise, while doing the exercise, you should be able to hold a full conversation, but you should not be able to sing. Usually, when people are walking, they can sing and they can chat and they can do a lot of things. So that's like a very basic, too easy kind of a thing. You should be just able to hold a full conversation, not being comfortable. Next, you move on to a level where you're able to speak in short sentences only. And then finally, when you increase your scale further, intensity levels, you'll be able to say only a word or two. That is advanced. Not speaker call, we don't want to go there, right? So a simple thing. These are, sorry, that's not pull-ups, that should be push-ups. So push-ups you can do, for those who can't do regular or decline, you can do what are known as wall push-ups or incline push-ups. Slowly you can start increasing the slope, and then you can go on to decline push-ups. That's a simple way of increasing the intensity. While doing this, if you are able to sing, then you have to go on to the next level. How much time are you supposed to exercise? Well, the recommended minimum per week is around 150 minutes of aerobic activity in a week. So that's like 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week. And 2 times we have to do strength training exercises. Remember, this is the minimum. And longer doesn't necessarily mean better, because quality of your workout matters much more than how much you're working out. Then we come on to the type. There are 4 major types: the endurance, that is the cardiovascular exercises, strength training, flexibility, and balance. The fifth important pillar is recovery. Like I said, you have to give time for your body to recover. Although in my previous talk, I said muscles are built in the gym, the fact is they are broken down in gym, and it is the recovery period when the body actually builds them. So let's look at each one. When you talk of cardiovascular exercises, the first and the simplest thing that comes to mind is walking, because most of everyone can do it, but it has to be fast paced. Okay, roughly 4.5 kilometers in 45 minutes. Everybody has these smart watches now. You can use them. They are very cheap and very reasonably reliable for such things. So you can start with that. But more importantly, what Dr. Rohit was also mentioning, you have to put it practically and involve walking into your daily lifestyle. That is the best you can do. So short distances, quit taking rickshaws or your car or your bikes or whatever. Just walk. Okay, do that. It's tough on Mumbai roads, I admit that, but try as much as possible. You can then move on to running. Of course, it's a more cardio intensive exercise, but grow slow and steady. Dr. Rohit was also told you have to keep monitoring. So, there's nothing wrong in running marathons and ultra marathons. There are people who do that, but that need not be your goal all the time. It is equally good if you can do 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. You can slowly build it up. Don't look at marathon as your first target and start off. Slow and steady. Eventually, you will get to a certain extent. Swimming, if you have access, wonderful body exercise, full body, no pressure on joints or anything. That is something you can do. Cycling is also a wonderful exercise, but you have to do long distances because the cycle is basically designed to reduce workload. So the more expensive is your cycle, the lesser workload you have to put into that. So our objective here is not to do long distances, it is to do more workouts. So that is you have to keep in mind. But it's a wonderful practical point where you can go cycling for short distances and do that. Okay. My favorite, of course, is trekking or hiking. It's a wonderful exercise. You're out in the nature, away from all this pollution and crowd. And if you have a wonderful group of friends like I have who are ophthalmologists, and we go regularly for trekking, it's a wonderful experience. Practically, Dr. Rohit also mentioned climbing stairs is an easy alternative. We can do it here during COVID. This was my ultimate workout. I used to just love going up and down in the staircase because there was nobody else to disturb. I can do currently 25 floors in 5 minutes. It's probably the lift takes me around 2 minutes if you include the waiting time and all that. Escalators initially, were made for the handicapped who couldn't climb stairs. What is the current situation? This is what it has come to, isn't it? Everybody, look at the picture on your right. There's only that 1% people who actually take the stairs. That's free workout for you. You don't have to pay anything, no gym, nothing required. They're just staring that you come, use me. Okay, nobody wants to use that. You go to your airports, there is always an escalator and there is this staircase next to it. Use that staircase. You're carrying your trolleys, which now all have got wheels. Earlier, there used to be these trunks. Now people used to carry them and go. Carry your luggage. Carry it. It will give you strength training as well and endurance. Then, of course, there are all these typical exercise, high knees, skipping, jumping jacks, all these things you can add on to it. What about strength training? Okay, quite neglected. And when you talk of strength training, the image that comes to your mind is always these weights and pulleys and gyms and all these things. Well, you can use that whenever it's available, but you have this wonderful thing with you. You have your own body weight and you have gravity. This is your dumbbell or your barbell or whatever you call it, and these are your pulleys. And you can make use of this to build your own exercises. The four major muscle groups that you need to target: upper limbs, lower limbs, back, and your core. Okay, for lower limbs, which are the largest muscles of the body, squats, simple exercise, excellent. Just sit down, get up, sit down, get up. Your posture has to be proper. So while doing this, just don't just start out randomly. Take some guidance, look at videos if you want online, and get that posture right to avoid injuries. Right? Upper limbs, there are multiple types of push-ups that you can keep doing, and excellent for upper body. You can, like I showed you in the previous slides also, you don't have to go for directly for the advanced push-ups. You can start with wall push-ups, slowly go to incline push-ups, then go on to regular push-ups. In regular push-ups, you can also do a knee push-up where your knees are resting on the floor, and then you can do that. So whatever level you are at right now, start with that and then slowly build it up, right? Core planks, amazing. This is my mother who's doing a straight arm plank. You can do a proper plank with your elbows resting on the floor. That is also done. The other are leg raise exercises. You can just raise your legs, bring them down. These are simple core exercises. For the back, pull-ups are excellent. You can keep doing that. But it's not easy for everybody to do that, in which case you can just do the dead hang, which is basically just take a rod and hang on to it. And that is one option you can do. For females, it is recommended you should be able to hold on to that for 60 seconds, 30 seconds at least, and males for 60 seconds. So you can slowly build up from 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever, to try and get to that level. It improves your hand grip as well, right? Then we move on to flexibility. So you can do all kinds of yogas and Pilates and stuff like that. That is one option. But you can also do simple exercises like, stretching while you are in your clinic or at your, working place. You can do all these things. Practically, traditional styles were there, which used to force us to sit down, to squat, to bend our knees and do all kinds of things, which are completely gone because of the luxury and the convenience that we now have. Simple things. If you're tying a shoelace, then do it in a manner that you ensure you're not bending your knees. So, this angle, don't try to bend your knees there. Try and bend down in a way that the knees are straight. Then you will realize how your back is flexible or not. So you incorporate these things. Balance is extremely important, especially for the elderly as they grow. And you can do all kinds of different kinds of balances which are there. But I'll tell you simple balance exercises that you can start. You can just lift your leg at 90 degrees, keep your hands apart, and hold on to that pose. Importantly, once you are confident enough, do it with eyes closed. Once your visual stimulus is gone, then it is entirely your body that takes over, and those you'll start feeling in your foot. You'll start feeling those small muscles start contracting, like it's nobody's business. We never use those muscles for exercise, and that is extremely important to prevent falls in elderly, especially the kind of roads and non-existent footpaths that we walk upon. It is extremely important to have a good balance. Practically, when you're wearing your shoes, where you can do it in such a way that you're balancing on one leg, and you can wear your socks and we can wear your shoes. These are small things that you can try and see if you can manage. So these are the different types of exercises. Some examples I'm giving here, but you get the concept right. You have your body weight and you have a gravity pulling you. You have to do anti-gravity things so that your muscles will get trained. Right? What about volume? Volume is nothing but the amount of repetitions you do multiplied by the sets that you do. So for beginner, you can maybe do 8 to 12 reps, 2 to 3 sets. These are just guidelines. You don't have to stick to this. You start with whatever level you are at, whatever level you are comfortable. See that it should exert you. It shouldn't be too easy. And it should not be something that you tire out so much that the next day you just don't want to get up. Okay. And progression is given a lot of importance. Trainers give a lot of this importance. You can do it by increasing the frequency, by intensity, time, volume, etc. But you have to be realistic. When do you progress? When all sets and repetitions are done properly for 2 consecutive sessions, only then you progress. Don't be in the, have that adrenaline rush and go for progression very fast, because then that can cause injuries and then you are set back by a week or 2 weeks again. So take it slow. When you're comfortable at a certain level, only then you progress further. So this was just a sample plan that you can do. You can mix your upper body, lower body, walking, HIIT, and all these things. You can do it. There are a lot of apps also available, which have a lot of free sets of exercises also given. So you can pick any of these. And if you want that kind of external motivation and support, right? So to conclude, you may dream anything, okay, but we have to keep our goals realistic. Okay, this is Dr. Mayur Morekar. His message, real, and he's been working out in the gym for a lot of years, and the results are obviously seen there. Real flex is about staying humble. It's about showing up at the gym day after day. It's about not using any supplements. So do what works for you. Consistency beats perfection every single time. It is important to do something every day rather than doing everything for a week and then quitting. Okay. And you don't need any fancy stuff to start exercising. You just need a system that you will not fail. Don't look at others. What's it in it for you? Okay. Every activity counts. You can do adventurous stuff. You can dance. MOS and of course BO as well have been doing such wonderful programs of cultural activities that are doing there, right? And it happens every year. Take part, dance, shake a leg. Just find your passion and you do whatever you want to do. Of course, the latest thing that they have added now is sports. So many sporting events were conducted by MOS this year. It was like an extravaganza in Navi Mumbai. I mean, it was wonderful to be part of all that. Just do any activity that you love. Current activity, if your current activity level is here, don't aim for something as high as that. Aim somewhere here first, slowly go on building up. Sitting is the new smoking, which means any exercise is better than none, because we have become so sedentary that these are the guidelines which have come up. Do something, actually do something. Anything is better. And being active for the rest of the day, as Rohit said, is as important as exercising in that 1 hour. So those who exercise for an hour and then are sitting the whole day don't get as much benefits, which is where that NEAT concept comes into play. Do your own activities. Maybe it's time to give the Kaam Wali Bai a chutti. That is what we are looking for, because convenience is actually killing us in more ways than once. We don't even go to the grocery store now to buy anything. So get up and get moving. The secret of getting ahead is getting started, right? So start your journey today. A big thanks to MOS for allowing us to conduct this session, and hope it was fruitful for everyone. And now we are open to take questions.
My God.
Too good, Sharon and Rohit. Yeah,
It
really
was
cool.
1.5 hours,
Yeah.
but oh my God, it was like, so much in a capsule, wonderful.
We don't want you to stop. I think you shouldn't talk more. Can we have everybody's video on, please? Yeah.
There are some questions which you've shared, Shara. Anamika, you want to take the first question? It's on the
They were put on the
WhatsApp
forms.
group. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think some of them we have addressed in the
Yes,
talks
you
only.
have. That's
But if
true.
you
You have.
feel
Yes.
anything is remaining, you can, or
Yes.
maybe we can ask the audience to first
Yeah, so
ask their
can I
question.
have my first question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So when we are talking about proteins, the whey protein that, see, when we are doing a lot of weight training, like you said, it's the breakdown that happens in the gym and the recovery needs protein. So immediately post workout, is that the best time to take protein, number one? And the whey protein that is now available that you are mentioning now, I just wanted a little more clarity on that. Apart from the routine diet, plant-based proteins.
So, firstly, we have to understand what level we are at. Okay.
Mm.
If we are not professional athletes, the criteria for professional athletes will be completely different from what we are looking at. So let's not look at those, right? That is understood. So for us, where we are doing very basic exercises and trying to do, even I would say the marathons that we are running, we are not running at under 2 hours or something of that sort, right? So we are doing for our health reasons, right? Not to compete, right? Now, for this much protein we get from food is more than sufficient. Supplements are not necessary unless your food is nutrient deficient. So if you are eating junk food the whole day, then that whey protein supplement or any supplement will help you. But if you are having the plate that we mentioned with lots of focus on vegetables and legumes, then you will get your proteins from natural sources, which is far better than taking it from whey protein, for the simple reason that all these protein powders which are available have been found to be contaminated with a lot of metal stuff. And this was a study which came out from US, where at least they have, I'm assuming, will have some standard of regulation. In India, I'm sure it will be worse than that. The other concept you mentioned of having it immediately after workout, it's actually a myth. There is a huge, they say there's a protein window within which you have to take, and people call it like 15 minutes, 1 hour. It's actually a protein garage door. Up to 12 to 14 hours, if you take post your workout, the protein intake, it is also giving you the same benefits. So there is no evidence to show that you have to consume it immediately.
Okay.
What happens is when you go to a gym, join a gym, the first thing you're given is a protein supplement or prescribed a supplement, as if that is what is really going to be the game changer. We have, I shared Dr. Mayur's workout for the same reason. He has attained a perfect body like a bodybuilder thing, not with any protein supplements. He doesn't take any protein supplements. The workout, he does that regularly in the gym. So if you do that, you will get your adequate protein. So this is a complete myth which is there around. You don't need plant proteins. You don't need supplements, whether plant or whether whey or whatever.
One
Can I
question from the audience. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, please, Dr. Gitanjali.
Yeah, first of all, I must appreciate Dr. Sharan and Dr. Rohit. Excellent talks they have given. आणि
Thank you.
मराठीमध्ये एक saying आहे, क्रिये विण वाचाळता व्यर्थ आहे. So both of them proved that they have first done themselves and then they are explaining to us. So that is fantastic. I just have a few queries in my mind. One thing, Dr. Sharik, when we are doing regular exercise, is it necessary to do certain lab tests or cardiac workup in between when we are doing exercise? Like after, say, 4-5 months, every time, is it needed? That is my first question. And my second question is, can you give, actually this is a request for you, can you give certain challenges as of now to all the participants? We can do those challenges till we complete this LDP program. So that will be really good practical tips for and self assessment for all of us, and we organizers are part of them. Like for fitness, we are also learning a lot. Another thing I just wanted to add, I recently did another course, and fatty livers are increasing in Indian population. And a gastroenterologist said, treatment for fatty liver, there are 10 treatments. Treatment number 1, diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. Treatment number 2, diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. Treatment number 3, diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. So all 10 treatments are only diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. So this is a very, very important thing, and we all Indians should remember that fatty livers are also increasing in Indian population, and we need to do regular exercise. So over to
Yeah.
Dr. Sharan.
So
Any
three
lab
questions.
tests or cardiac workup? Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, irrespective of whether you start exercising or not, you have to get your basic workup done because unfortunately, we all are metabolically ill. We may not look it, we may not feel it, but inside we are. What Dr. Rohit was saying, we have these toffies. We are toffies, thin outside, fat inside. That is the makeup of Indians. So we have to get, and unfortunately, I missed putting up a slide of what we usually recommend, tests to be done. But you have to do those tests. Everybody has to do it. After 40, though, you have to do. Now, though, I would say after 35 also, because the heart disease is coming lower and lower age group people. So that you have to do. And then based on where you are at the baseline, then you can decide how often you want to repeat those tests. So that can be done. Your second question was
Challenge, some
challenge.
challenge,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
that we
simple
can give.
challenge. If I can suggest, मराठीत सांगते, मांडी घालून फरशीवर बसा, खाली ग्राउंडवर, फ्लोअरवर, without taking support, just try
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
stand up. Yeah,
Absolutely. So we can do
that
that.
kind of.
Based on the 4 types of exercises, we can give for each type of exercise, we can give some challenge, and that can be worked upon. And the third
Yes.
you mentioned was
Indian population had certain increasing disorders like fatty
fatty
liver
liver.
or now
Yeah, yeah,
even
that
BMI.
all metabolic diseases we are struggling with, they are called lifestyle disorders. Please
Yes.
understand, we are calling them lifestyle disorders, but we are treating them with pharmacological agents. All our medicine books had that one line. The first line of treatment is diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. Beyond that, we were taught zero. What does it mean by diet, lifestyle change, exercise? What does that mean? We are not taught in our entire education during our MBBS days, which is why it has now been taken over by nutritionists and health influencers, and anybody can just get in. So I think it's time, and we are part of this Physicians Association for Nutrition. It is an international organization, and both Rohit and I are part of that, and we conduct CMEs for medicos where we try to, spread this knowledge of lifestyle medicine to all of them so that we start telling that to patients. So a lot of my patients, I'm sure Rohit also does the same. We tell them about dietary guidelines and how it is necessary.
Thank you.
One question by our participants. What can be done to avoid stress eating?
So
What can you do? Some tips, Rohit, and
Yeah,
we are all
Rohit
human
can.
beings. We are prone to stress
Rohit is
and
the
we love
perfect person
food.
to answer that.
Yeah.
So, stress eating is basically, when we think about any addiction, that stress is stimulating that addiction in terms of, we want our dopamine. We want that mental dopamine basically gives us that happiness. So, I would suggest if somebody has to eat during stress, and that is a period sometimes I do also face that, try to have access to healthier food stuff like fruits. That is something my go-to. You can have fruits. The second thing is that a lot of times we feel that we are hungry, we are actually thirsty.
Thirsty.
So we need to have water alarms if we are not very particular, and the minimal amount of water intake has to be 3 liters. It is not 1.5 or 2 liters. It has to be 3, and for people who are obese, it is 3.5. Now imagine somebody drinking 3.5 liter would actually mean drinking like 12 or 13 glasses a day. And you will realize that, you can just do that experiment after your lunch, probably 1 hour later, every half an hour when you start drinking water, you will not have that urge of snacking in between rather than eating in between. And again, if we look at, people who speak about de-addiction, or people who, if you read Atomic Habits book, the author clearly states that access to the junk food shouldn't be there, or access to that addiction substance should not be there. So if you do not have, I always tell my patients, bakery, फरसा, नमकीन, bread, biscuit, चिवड़ा चिप्स मत खाइए आप. अगर आप ये भी बंद कर देंगे तो शुगर ऑटोमेटिकली कंट्रोल में आ जाएगी. So you do not keep these things at home. Once you're not having an access, और वो fruits सामने दिखते हैं, like I have soy milk tetra packs at home. So in the night, if I'm hungry after coming from the clinic, because my dinner is at around 7:30, then I'll end up having a soy milk tetra pack. So do not have access to junk food, drink enough amount of water, and if you still want to binge or have a dessert, replace it with a fruit. And we, being in India, are very lucky. We have got all the year around, good amount of
Seasonal.
fruits available.
My go-to
Fantastic.
food is dark chocolate with some nuts.
There was one funny tip, but very useful tip given by
Just 1 minute, 1 minute.
yeah.
I think Dr. Anamika and Dr. Gitanjali. Yeah, just one after the other. Yeah. Dr.
Yeah,
Anamika, just one moment. I think Dr. Gitanjali is making.
yeah, I just wanted to add one funny and very useful tip was given by one of our Miss India, Nafisa Joseph. May her soul rest in peace. She is no more. But she had given a tip whenever you feel like eating in stress, just go and brush your teeth. And if you brush your teeth, you immediately lose that interest of eating. So, this is a very good tip, especially late night. If you feel like eating, just go and brush your teeth and you will see the difference.
Wow,
Over to
that's
you, Anamika.
innovative. Let's see.
Yeah, but I don't know how much it will work out brushing the teeth. Anyway, again, coming back to that same thing, in menopausal age group, the craving that you get. So, whatever points told by Dr. Rohit definitely would work. But especially there are cravings for sweet. So, where you then try to keep that khajur, dates, anjir and all. But how about those protein bars which are available, especially the whole Truth brand? Is it which has dark chocolate? Especially in this age group, many of the perimenopausal age group they have craving for chocolate. So does this protein bars are of a help during that time? Your take, both of you.
Sarang, you
So
go first.
basically, cravings, you have to understand why they are coming. It is something that they have been consuming before, which they like. And that is why it has come to a stage now they want more of that same thing. If during pregnancy only you're avoiding all this, then I don't think something which you have not had a taste for is going to, you could get a craving for that same thing. That is one. Secondly, anything in the natural form is much better than going for any kind of bars. If you have to go for bars because of convenience or any other reason, read the labels like Dr. Rohit mentioned. See what is actually in there. Don't go by the front side where they have put extra protein or dark chocolate or whatever. Read what is actually there, how much of protein, how much of this, whatever. So accordingly, you take your choice. Like I said, instead of doing that, you get these pure dark chocolate with zero sugar. 99% cocoa is there in that. Absolutely fine. You take those and you mix your fruit, nuts that you have and just eat them together. It
Khajur
gives you a
and
nice,
anjeer.
yeah.
That's
So that's
right.
better than taking something branded because see, if when somebody brands something, they have to make profit out of it. So they use things to make the cost, manufacturing cost less, and they spend on marketing so that people, come back
Yeah.
also to eat.
Sharang, one more thing. Now, we all, like you said, very nicely, different kinds of exercise. So, all of us, like you said, walking is the easiest, walking or cycling or running. Now, the question or the option of anaerobic exercise or weight training, many females especially are not really, fond of or having access to. They feel as if I'm walking every day, I know something is better than nothing. But is that ideal? We also need to stress the importance of weight training. They say, "Arey, that is for males, that may not be necessary for females." So I want you to stress on that and tell
Yeah,
our
no. So
viewers
that's why all
how
four.
weight training is important even for females, how early they should start, and whether they should do it or if they just do walking and don't do, if they have a choice, huh, that is. So how
No,
important
no,
it is, I
there is
want
no
you to
choice
stress.
in this.
Yes,
There is no
yes.
choice in this. All four, not just strength, flexibility, and balance is also important. We have to work on all four parameters equally there. Okay. The problem is balance here and there comes up thanks to our environment, which is such that we are walking anyways. It's not safe anywhere. So that comes on and off. When you do walk, a little part of endurance gets covered. Strength training is the least that is we are exposed to because we have too many convenience. And like I said, we don't even carry our bags, we just drag it along. So all that we have to just see what was the lifestyle 50 years back and compare it with today. There were no vehicles, people didn't have individual vehicles, short distances, nobody had a rickshaw that you can book on your mobile and it will come to your house. You don't even have to go now outside to catch a rickshaw either udhar. You don't have to run behind a bus now. People, so all these have become conveniences, and that is why our life has become so sedentary. And we have a lot of helpers around. We have that luxury to do all our work for us. So just go back to those basics and then you will understand. Strength training is important because our muscles, like I said, use it or lose it kind of tissue. You have to stimulate them. All this protein and all what we are consuming without a demand in the body, it is useless. Your body needs to give that demand. Arey bhai, I need proteins. Then you consume the proteins, it will have some role. Otherwise, it's just going to get stored as fat. So it doesn't matter what you do. So exercise in all forms and strength training, like you said, women are reluctant to do that because that is equated with those muscular. You go to the gym, you will always have these muscle builders photos there. No female would want to look like that, isn't it?
But they will
So
not, because that needs the testosterone to be able to look like that. So even if
no,
they
no, no.
do,
If
they will.
no, no. If you see the female bodybuilders, they also have competition, so they can reach
Do
that
they
level.
take steroids? All these.
No, I think in the competitions it would be banned. So they
Mm.
must not have been taking, but I don't know. That apart, a female also, if that female exercises regularly and heavily, it will come to that. But that we are talking of like 5, 6 hours, 8 hours a day of exercise in the gym. We are not looking at that. We are just talking of 30 minutes of strength training at least twice a week. That is the standard that we are setting right now because of our existing standards. So I don't think we should be worried about over exercising. It is just that in an adrenaline rush, people may do over exercises for that particular day. which has to be avoided as much as possible.
Dr. Rohit, you wanted to say something? You
Yeah,
raised
yeah.
your hand.
Yeah, for the previous question, what Dr. Anamika ma'am had asked, uh, going whole food plant-based diet has shown to reduce the perimenopausal symptoms significantly and also the symptoms in PMS because the hormones are better balanced on a whole food plant-based diet, especially when there is no dairy intake. So that will help reduce the cravings and the other symptoms also. There is good amount of data, especially there are studies done by Dr. Neil Bernard and his group on PCRM. The other thing is when you spoke about the whole truth protein bars, they have got a vegan protein bar which is just dark chocolate, probably almonds and date paste and walnuts. So that is pretty good because I do have it when I'm running marathons. That's a very clean thing which if you don't want to make it at home, like what Sharang suggested, you can have that. But most of their that protein stuff they have is additional whey protein. So be very careful, read the label. And they do mention it, which is the vegan one. And the vegan one, they do not add any pea protein. It's just the dry fruits, dark chocolate, and date paste.
In
So that's
continuation
nice.
to
There are some questions. One
yeah,
moment.
continuation to that only, Dr.
Yeah.
Trupti Kolatkar is asking any suggestions to work on perimenopausal weight gain, a real challenge in realistic life. Dr. Sharan, Dr. Rohit
No,
Modi.
so I mean, you eat right and you exercise. I mean, there
Yeah.
is no separate mantra for disease specific or situation specific things. It is just that post delivery, mother is caught up in so many other things. There are a lot of other priorities. The focus on mother's own health is like just goes in the backdrop.
This is perimenopausal, she's asking.
Oh, she's perimenopausal. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
But
I thought
for
postmenopausal.
perimenopausal also, if a clean diet is maintained, what do I mean by clean diet? Avoiding the processed food and the packet food and focusing, like what Sharang said, going 90% whole food plant-based diet, exercising regularly, proper sleep, mindfulness exercises will help. There is nothing separate. So the beauty of lifestyle medicine is that a proper lifestyle will address all the non-communicable diseases at one go, whether it is heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, Alzheimer's. It is preventive as well as therapeutic for a lot of these diseases. But when we look at interventions in terms of medications, it has to be tailor-made for that specific disease entity.
Very
So
well
in
said.
perimenopausal situation, what happens is when the estrogen levels start dropping, that is the situation where things come into play. So soy intake has been shown to have excellent response for that. See, soy has got phytoestrogens. Now, phytoestrogens are, first of all, they are not estrogens. They are a very, very weak type of estrogen thing. So what happens is in the body when estrogens are excess, what they do is they go and block those receptors so that excess estrogen doesn't create a problem. But when the estrogen starts dropping, that is the time these small amounts weak estrogen, phytoestrogens also keep providing that little push. So it kind of tapers down the menopausal problems.
So taking soy milk will
Yeah,
help.
soy milk is one option. You can have soybeans also, whatever form you can say tofu or whatever. See,
Mhm.
milk
Right.
is,
So
we are
one more
doing the
thing,
milk.
yes, yeah, no, one more
No, milk
thing.
we are doing out of it because
Yeah,
we are
yeah,
used to
correct.
dairy milk and we want a replacement. But technically speaking, an adult doesn't need any form of milk. You can
Right,
have it in the actual form.
right. Now regarding the tofu and the paneer that is available in commercially, so they say that even that is adulterated. So what's the best form, or you make it at home, then
So
that's the purest form. Is that uh,
paneer is the number one adulterated food declared by
exactly?
FSSAI.
So
It's like 83% of outside paneer is adulterated. I mean, you can't even imagine that number. It's so crazy. And every other day you find that they have raided some dairy outlet which was mixing chemicals and selling milk
exactly.
and all those things.
Hmm.
So far, it has not come to tofu. So
Mm-hmm.
tofu so far is because I guess there are not that many numbers out there, but it's an industry. And with Indian, the way the regulators are there, eventually as the soy tofu intake goes on increasing, I would not be surprised if we find something like this coming up because it's all a money-driven thing. Anything you make at home is always better, but for practical reasons, we may not be able to do that. In which case, you have to find out the trusted brands and then go for it. Chetrans is a very good trusted brand which provides Chetrans,
Chetrans.
Chetran. They are Pune based and they sell their soy milk products. They have soy curds, they have tofu, different
Mm-hmm.
types. So they are very clean and good products. It's available on Amazon also.
Yeah, just
One
Or
wanted
you
to.
can,
question, is roti good or bad? That's a very important question somebody's asked. Dr. Snehal has asked. Wheat roti,
Yeah. So
should we stop
yeah, take
that?
Rohit, no problem.
yeah, so roti itself is because it is made out of flour. We are broken the grain, so the carbohydrate is easily available. So it is, instead of roti, if we can have a whole grain like dalia, or if we have like a brown rice, that is a much more better source of grains than having roti. So, I like what Dr. Pramod Tripathi says about grains. When we have our lunch or dinner, have like a single chapati or a bakri, whatever you want to have along with that a large bowl of sabji with very minimal oil or no oil, and have a large bowl of dal, any preparation of legume, whether it is chole, rajma, chana, anything, large bowl. Now if you want to have one more roti, first have another bowl of dal and sabji and salad, and then think about another roti. What we typically do is having three rotis and little bit of sabji and dal, which Sharang has beautifully shown in the thali picture which he showed in his presentation.
We are at a stage where we are consuming lot of refined grains. So the problem is one, they are refined, and the second problem is a lot of it. So first, let us start at least cutting down the amount.
Yeah,
Okay,
and should
let's
we?
cut down the
Uh,
amount like Dr. Rohit said, restrict it. If you want to have it, but have it within that one-fourth portion, not exceeding that. The rest of the three-fourth plate has to come from legumes and vegetables. Vegetables and dal we use like, we just dip it in the dal, that watery dal. No, those concepts have to change. It has to be a thick dal to make any sense out of it. And your vegetables have to be proper, not those oily stuff.
okay, two questions. One is, how is Greek yogurt for protein source?
So that's one question. Anyways,
Yeah,
for
I'll come to
protein,
the second question. Yeah.
it has protein, no doubt about it, but it is again coming from dairy. And I could present only 2, 3 slides on dairy, but I can give a half an hour lecture on dairy and why it is problematic, especially in today's times. The kind of dairy that we are getting today is absolutely horrendous, let alone the contamination part. Even if you assume you are actually getting milk and not some chemicals mixed in it, the problem is it is certainly not good. And there are a lot of myths around dairy which have been floated around, we've kind of been brainwashed into thinking that consuming another species mammary secretions is necessary for us. I mean, we are not even thinking that it is good to have maze ke liye. No, we are thinking without it we will not survive. It has come to that. So I think this is a major brain change that we need to do. That we have to just take somebody's lactational milk and eat.
Okay, my second question was, like he was mentioning about the roti, then should we choose millets over, wheat
Yeah,
and
yeah, certainly. That is always better, and that is one good thing that our government is doing, that
yeah.
promoting more of millets use. But again, the same thing when you break it down and make rotis out of it, it is a little problematic, but that is certainly better. The other thing is curds people have a lot of time is because they feel it has got probiotics, and
Mm.
that is why it is good for us. So let me address that point also. Probiotics are basically good bacteria which are present in the curd, which when you take replenish your gut microbiota. But fiber is a prebiotic. It is the food for your gut bacteria. So when you provide fiber to your gut microbiome, the good bacteria will feed on it and they will grow on their own. If you feed them, if you don't give them fiber, then they will die. And then your probiotics you will have to keep supplement. It's like in your garden, you are not watering the plants. Whichever are dying, you are replacing with new plants. Instead of just water the garden and naturally they will grow on their own. We don't even know the number of bacteria which are there teeming, the kind of bacteria which are there in our gut. It is mind boggling stuff. We just have to give them the right food and they will do the job on their own.
One question is, should gluten be stopped totally?
Yeah.
Rohit, you want to take that?
Yeah. So, when we were discussing about millets versus, wheat, and we talk about the gluten-free meals, I would say that, I always tell this to my patients when they ask me, should I have alkali water? I say first clear 12th standard, then we'll speak about graduation and post-graduation. So the first thing is we should understand we are going to cut down all the processed and the ultra-processed foods out. And then the step is to cut down on dairy and the animal products, to a significant extent that they become a small portion. And then we can think about gluten. Yeah, gluten-free diets are especially recommended for people who have leaky guts, like people with autoimmune conditions or diabetics. And there is a group known as Sharon, which does a fantastic job with disease reversal. They do recommend gluten-free organic meals for the first 6 weeks for disease reversal. But again, it becomes more and more difficult. I really like what Sharang presented in his talk, when he showed his meal and all. It is so easily, every component of it is easily available. So first, especially, going even whole food plant-based diet is slightly tricky to convince our family members. And then going gluten-free becomes even more complex. So, these are things which will give us 5% benefit. If we look at things which can give us 90% benefits, like eating at the right time, in fact, just eating slowly over a 20-minute period, doing a box breathing before eating can improve digestion and benefits. So gluten-free, yes, it's a good thing for the initial 6 to 8 weeks to repair the gut. But I feel that should be one of the later steps. The initial steps should be just to remove the processed food out of the
So
meal.
true. Take small steps, and these small steps will then become a mile. That's really nice what you said, Rohit. And now, very an honest confession from somebody that my HbA1c has come 6.2. And how do I cut down my craving for sweet? We all know people have cravings, and that's your innate nature. I'm a lazy person. I don't exercise. What any suggestions, please? That's a wonderful way of saying, how can you help me?
So everyone is lazy till they start exercising. So, I mean, you have to make a start. You have to find the why. Once you get your why, the how will follow. Now, for many people, the why comes because of health reasons. Oh, yeah, I'm uncontrolled diabetic. Abhi to mujhe karna hi padega, kind of a thing. But that's not how we want it to be. So that's what I said. No, make it something entertaining. If you're not happy to go to the gym, try dancing, try playing sports, try do other activities. Go to for some treks, whatever keep yourself busy and occupied. So that is, some may like carpentry, who knows, you can do something, it's something, do lift, move, do something.
So,
I
no
just wanted to
exercise
add.
is not an answer. You have to, but find
Yeah,
something which gives you pleasure. It's not a
yeah,
punishment. Do something like that,
correct. It
right?
has
Just
to be
wanted to add.
sustainable, like everything, like your diet also, it has to be sustainable. So you take small steps. If you, like I said, no, doing something every day is more important than trying something for 1 week and then giving up, right? So it need not be that way.
I
And if
have a
you,
suggestion. We should have a calendar, at least for our MOS
Yes, yes,
NDP. Okay, every day we have a logbook where you write down what, I
correct.
mean, both for our exercise as well as our food habits, so that, we keep our own logbook and the end of the week, we have some kind of motivational this thing and appreciate those who have been able to do it. And then at the end of the month, we see, because we have 6 more months with us, so why not? It'll help all of us
Yes, yes.
having some kind of
Dr.
logbook,
Anaga,
right?
excellent, excellent. That's what is the perfect suggestion.
Yeah, let's do
Everybody should
that.
maintain the logbook. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
let's do that, all of us.
Yes,
Acha,
definitely.
Sharang, one thing.
Yeah.
Give us your typical whole day meal, right from morning to evening. Because when you were
I'm
showing all that, it was too fast. So just what is your meal the whole day? Yeah.
So I can just put up that slide again, maybe, but it's basically I have a mix of raw vegetables like cucumber, and it's like a salad.
No, you break it down into morning uh,
I don't
frequency
really
as
want
well
to
as
go there
exactly.
What we can
because
do is he can
I
put it on the
actually
group,
No,
sorry.
yeah,
on the
yeah, to
group,
put it,
and,
yeah, but
and then we
Uh,
put it on the group so it remains
yes,
forever
yes,
no,
like
but
that.
that we will.
I
But just
honestly I eat to live. I don't live to eat. Okay, so what I eat may not people may not connect with it. So what? Okay, but I'll since you're asking, I'll tell you. I take a dabba. I put my salad. Put my vegetable. I put my dal. I put my brown rice. I put my fruit. I put my soy curd. I put my nutritional yeast. I put a mix of peanuts. Put a mix of seeds like pumpkin, flax seeds, crush them and I put them inside. And I carry it with me and I eat it whenever I feel hungry. I have it. I try to eat. I generally start late around 10:30 or 11 is my first food intake in the morning. And I try to wrap up around 7:38. So that is my
so
general
there
thing.
is no
And
breakfast before 10:30.
no.
So it's basically a bhel of very healthy food all put together.
You put everything, you
Yeah,
mix everything
Yes,
in one thing.
it's a
yeah.
bhel.
Because it's convenient. No, I just have to open that and
Right.
eat. कुछ दिमाग नहीं
And
लगाने का.
That's the best thing you can give a lady because it's like so
My
convenient what
wife
you
is very
said.
happy with me. I can say
Yeah.
that.
Wonderful.
but
Rohit,
the
what about you?
most important was what he said. He eats only when he feels hungry. That is
Yeah, yeah.
most important. Not like just okay, chalo abhi conference hai aa gaya kha lo. It's not like that.
कि मैम
He
लेकिन
eats
कॉन्फ्रेंस
only
में
when
खा
he
लेता हूँ मैं.
What was that
Wonderful.
nutritional yeast? That I didn't, we didn't talk about it. What was that
Yeah, I'll
nutritional
tell.
yeast?
But one important point, I have to thank BOA out here because in their conferences now they are started having a
Yes,
separate
vegan,
plant-based
Vegan.
vegan
vegan.
counter as well, which is really appreciated by many of us.
True.
Yeah, so nutritional yeast is basically it's a powder. It's also called as noosh. Okay, it is good for proteins and B12. It is fortified with B12. So that it gives a kind of a cheesy flavor to whatever it is, whatever you add it to. It
Mm.
can be used to make plant-based cheese. So you can take cashew and put the nutritional yeast and just grind it in the a grinder, and you will get beautiful cheese that you can use.
Okay.
Rohit,
You
what
need to
about
share
you?
the recipe of all
Sure.
this.
Yeah, true.
Oh, there
True.
are
We are
so
not going
many
to leave you,
recipes.
okay? Only
Dr.
with
Rohit
this. Yeah.
mentioned this Sharan website, no Sharan. It is Sharang without the G. So that Sharan is it has excellent recipes. You will learn oil-free cooking there. It is made so simple.
This
We
is on
can't even
YouTube.
imagine that. We keep arguing over ourselves ki which oil is better, this, that. Actually, oil is also not needed.
How
You
are those
can get,
cold pressed oils? Or that is also
that's what I mean. It's a spectrum. So they are
better
better
than
than
refined,
refined.
but
Yeah, yeah, better than refined. But again, those are also not necessary. It's just that that habit of cooking is come to a stage where oil has to be used. So, but it's not necessary. In fact, in villages, they don't use oil. They just put the leaves and the seeds, and that tadka only starts secreting its own natural oil. We can also do the same. And
Rohit,
there are a
you
lot
also
of
said,
recipes and
sorry. Yeah, sorry,
sorry.
sorry. No, no, go ahead. I thought you had finished. Please,
No, no,
please.
that Sharan website is there. There is other also. Satvik Movement is also another organization which does a lot of online work. Uh, Sampurna Ahara is also there. So there are many who are doing this.
Yeah, you
There are
wanted
courses
to.
also for those really interested who are interested in cooking. Satvik Movement has a beautiful 21-day course online. If you can attend that, it will be a life-changing experience for you for those who enjoy cooking. We can tell you where all we are going wrong and how simple steps can make us consume more whole foods and plant-based foods, and yet not compromise on any of the taste aspect.
Rohit was saying something.
One more
Rohit,
question which is not addressed by Dr. Sneha, right way to take chia seeds.
The chia seeds, you have to soak them overnight, and once they absorb all the water, then you can either have it directly or you can mix them. So the other thing I also carry along with my dabba is a kind of a mix shake where I put bananas and homemade soy milk. So that's another thing I would like to point out. There is a nut milk maker which is easily available on Amazon, costs around 4,000 rupees. You get that, and you can make soy milk, almond milk, oat milk, whatever you want, soups in that soy milk maker. Takes around 25 minutes. You will get warm, freshly homemade soy milk. You can choose the amount of soybeans you want to put. So you can make it thicker, you can make it thinner, whatever. So I have that. I put some bananas, and sometimes I add peanut butter to it, and I add chia seeds to that.
Charang,
So then
we will need a video of that how it's going to be made, and you'll have to share it.
I have
So let's
images.
have, one recipe session by Rohit
Yes,
from Sharang.
yes.
Oh no, there
At
are
least a
many more
video.
qualified
That
than
will be
me
your
because
pearl, MOS pearl. No, you can add in that because this is also a very important pearl. So we need your video on how to make that.
all right. Green smoothies is something that we all swear by. And Rohit, I think you should mention that.
Yeah. I'll share a meal plan which I give it to my patients. It has got certain recommendations and mind relaxation therapies. I'll share it in the group, and feel free to
But just
copy
speak
and
about green smoothies, no?
Yeah. So, couple of things just wanted to add, in the previous questions, tofu chances of adulteration is very less because tofu manufacturing is very cost effective. So at the rate which they are selling and they're manufacturing, the difference is so huge that they are less incentivized to adulterate. Now, on the second question that somebody said didn't want to exercise, one of the things which I have learned from Dr. Brooke Goldner's work is get what Sharang said, getting your why right, have a fitness mission statement written and paste it in front of your bedroom when you get up. So, it gets into your value system. If you read it daily and you visualize in front of the mirror what you're supposed to do. So, just 3 years back, when if I thought of doing an Ironman, I would have thought it is impossible, but visualization and writing the goals will really help. Now, about the green smoothie, yes, that's a wonderful thing. Basically, any kind of greens, you can take palak, 2 spoons of flaxseed powder, and a fruit for flavor. If somebody is a diabetic, use a low glycemic fruit like apple or pear. If somebody is not a diabetic, you can use banana, grapes, or mango also, because those are high glycemic food. Apart from these things, you can add, cinnamon, fenugreek, turmeric, based on your taste. You can even add avla. Avla is highly concentrated stuff, fresh. Even fresh turmeric, which is available in the winter times, can add. But if it is you just want to make it simple, add spinach, half the blender, 2 spoons of flaxseed powder, and one fruit for flavor. It is amazing. Post-workout hydrates, replenishes all the vitamins you need apart from vitamin D and B12. So that's my go-to drink. What I would recommend.
Great.
One other point for that person who was not encouraged enough to do activity is group activity. So if you join some group activity sessions, the motivation comes from others around you. So if you have a like-minded group, just try to motivate others also and enroll for something which is you're doing together. So Aaj, if you don't feel like getting up, somebody will call you, "Arey chal nikalna hai." That kind of a thing where you can push each other. That also really helps.
So those are super tips, and I think we are all heading for healthier us. And Sharang and Rohit, I cannot thank you enough. Are there any more questions, or we can end the session? Dr. Anagha? I think she started.
No, I'm here only. Yeah, one last question. See,
Yeah.
summer is approaching and the mango season is going to start. So, how good are mangoes? Are they healthy or not?
Mangoes are fine. I mean, you have to see if you are diabetic, uncontrolled, what it is. See how
No,
it
if
is.
there is nothing else, I mean, no diabetes.
Absolutely. It's a fruit. So you have to treat it like a fruit. The problem is people just overconsume mangoes. So like, they will just sit and have five, six, seven, eight mangoes in one go. That is not good for anything anyway. So whichever fruit, nothing has to be consumed in over the amount. So if you're addicted to mangoes, then it's a problem.
So,
And
what
please
is the
have it
right
seasonal.
number or the optimum number?
So we say it's around 2 to 3 servings of fruits per day.
So, which means one mango or two
Seasonal.
mangoes?
Don't have mangoes which are very early or very late in the season. Like watermelons and all, you get all through the year. So
Hmm.
try and avoid those things. Don't go for these, imported fruits which are coming. Get seasonal and local and even hyper local. So take it rather, fruits and all, take it from the thele wala, which are less likely to have preservatives and additives and all. Because when they're traveling long distances, then they have to ensure that they don't spoil before
Fine.
it reaches the customer. So then there are more incentives to put something in it so that it stays and looks nice for the end consumer. So talk to the thelewala, find out where it has come from, find out what is the source of this. Then you can start seeing the actual thing, because the other thing is preservatives and all that is also a concern which comes up usually in these discussions.
So, wow. This is
Absolutely.
really, we can go on and on.
Can go on. Yeah.
But yeah, it was wonderful, Dr. Rohit, Dr. Sharan. I can't thank you enough. And I thank both of you for coming here, and not only coming here, but sharing such practical tips. But most of the times people give up because people feel, no, these are not practical food approaches. They're too hi-fi, if that's the word, which cannot be sustained over a period of time. But both of you have shattered those myths. So I thank you for that, and we will have another session. And please, without fail, your tips, both you and your meals, and the video Dr. Anaga had requested of what you're going to do with your mixer, right? And with that, I think we end the session. And Dr. Anamika, you want to say a
Yes.
few words? Dr. Anamika, Dr. Gitanjali, you're muted.
Yeah, I
You're
would like to
muted. You're
thank
muted.
Sharang and
Anamika.
Yeah. Gitanjali madam, please.
Please go ahead, Dr. Gitanjali.
I am so grateful, and I'm so fortunate I didn't miss this, because I was wondering if I can attend, but luckily my flight reached in time and I could attend. Fantastic session and so many tips, but we should all follow them,
Yes.
and we should imbibe all those tips into our day-to-day life. That is most important. And again, I would request all LTP participants to maintain the logbook, as Dr. Anaga madam has said, and just enter like what exercises you have done every day, and what Dr. Sharang had said, group activities. I think we can start those group activities, at least on WhatsApp group. Like this is today's group activity. So everyone can do it on their own at home. But at least we can start something like that. It's a very good, suggestion. Thank you very much. And thank you, Preeti, for a fantastic session organizing today. Thank you very much.
A big thanks to MOS and all of you for having us here. Really
Oh,
appreciate it.
Absolutely, Shannon.
it
When
was our
we
pleasure.
started thinking about this, we were we didn't have even an idea that it would become, so good and so many points that would come out with this. So I think this has been an eye opener
Just
for all
one
of
thing, I'll
us.
share the test which I'm going to recommend.
Yes,
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 I would
yes.
urge all of the
Yes.
participants here to get those tests
So if
done.
you can say just orally, so because the group is not going to be there for all the other MOS members.
Okay. So no, so basically, get your fasting blood sugar, get your fasting insulin done. Okay. Get your HbA1c. That will give us the HOMO IR ratio. Okay, that is important. That will tell us where we are. Then get your LFTs and RFTs. Get your thyroid function, because when thyroid is abnormal, all the other tests also go haywire. Get your lipids. In lipids, what is also important is your triglyceride HDL ratio. So that is also important. That is what you have to look at. Of course, LDL is always there. Do these things, get your body measurements done. I shared that form before the event, but not many people had filled it. I think it's necessary to understand where we are on a fitness level. So your weight, your height, your waist circumference, all these things are important. If you can get a DEXA scan done, nothing like it, that will actually the full body DEXA scan, which will actually tell you how much frontal lean mass you have, how much body fat, how much adipose tissue is there in your trunk. All those things, parameters are given beautifully. Like recently,
We lost
I
you.
had done, yeah. So I did a DEXA scan. Post that, I was doing my eating, workouts, and all. I think 8 months later, I repeated. I had lost 2 kgs in those 8 months, and I did my DEXA scan again, and I found there was a 3.2 kg fat loss and a 1.2 kg muscle gain. Now, this the weighing scale will never tell you. It will tell you that 2 kilo kam ho gaya. But in that 2 kilo, 3.2 was fat loss and 1.2 was muscle gain. So the total body mass was dropped by 2. But it is important to see that your muscle is being built up and not your. Otherwise, you can lose fat also. So now these GLP-1 analogs which are coming in actually cause muscle loss as well along with that. So if you're taking, then you have to do strength training. Otherwise, you'll start losing your muscle mass first. So that is again a problem. So these are things which are important. So these tests you can get done.
Fair enough. So
Very
those were nice ones. We should get them done. Anamika, you want to say something?
Nothing,
Again?
madam. Speechless.
Nothing.
Speechless.
True. That's right. So we come to the end of this wonderful webinar, and I thank Dr. Rohit and Dr. Sharang for coming here, sparing their time and their tips, and giving us a whole new outlook into what you eat and how you exercise. It's a must. It's not a choice you have to make. It's a must if you want to have a healthy life. Yeah. And I thank Dr. Anagha Heru, the president of MOS, who is for conceptualizing the LDP and this session, Dr. Anamika and Dr. Gitanjali for helping in all the logistics and carrying it to fruition, Dr. Numerotech, who for conducting the whole session in a very smooth manner. And to all the LDP participants and our viewers, thank you for being here and being a part of this session. So with this,
Thanks,
I wish everybody a very good evening and have a wonderful day and
I
start
think
today.
very good. Thanks, Preeti, for moderating, Dr. Anamika and Dr. Preeti. And I think the best gift we will get out of all this is when all the MOS members will actually follow this. So this was just the first step to bring us close to the truth. But when we actually accept it and start following it, I think that will be we will be really happy with that. So I urge all MOS members and whoever is viewing this, listening to this, to please follow this, so that then it will be beneficial to all of us. Thank you so much.
Good
Thank you
day.
so
Good day,
much.
everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. See
Bye.
you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.